What's going on YouTube? Hayden back making another brand new Crypto TV episode. In today's video, we'll be looking at Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, as well as switching it up. We're going to be looking at the S&P 500 as well as the Dow Jones. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, leave a giant thumbs up if you like the content. Otherwise, let's jump into today's episode. So we're going to be talking about a bunch of different things. I made a video last night regarding the massive plummet that we had in cryptocurrency, and we didn't really have much information to go off of besides the plummet and tracking that symmetrical triangle that we were seeing form on Bitcoin. But I've done some more research today, and I did want to shed some light on this and really show you guys what exactly the information that I found, and obviously hear what you guys have to say about this. So I want to start things off on the coin market cap, and then we'll move into these articles that I have, and then we'll move into the technical analysis. So looking on cryptocurrency right now on the coin market cap, you guys can see we're at $200 billion in terms of market cap, with a pretty high 24-hour volume for the past couple of days. Then Bitcoin dominance of 54.3%. So the market cap is 200 billion, and I believe yesterday we were at around, or before the fall, we were at 220 billion. So within a matter of hours, we've seen $20 billion leave the exchanges for cryptocurrency, which is quite surprising. The 24-hour volume did skyrocket quite a bit. Now, just because volume increases, that isn't necessarily a good thing. Volume increased because money left the market fairly quick. So we shot up. We're at 16 billion, let's say. That's literally, I think, 6 billion more than what we had and what we were seeing prior to the breakdown. Looking at the Bitcoin dominance, 54.3%. Yesterday we were at 52%. So obviously we're seeing that rise because we're seeing altcoins be affected more than Bitcoin. So to scroll down and look at these top 10 cryptos, as you guys can see, everything is in red. A lot of bloodshed on the market. Quite shocked that we're seeing this, but it wasn't something I completely put under the carpet. You know what I mean? Put in the closet. I got rid of. It was something that could potentially happen, and it did. And we're going to look at that more in the technical analysis. Now, there's a lot to talk about and what I want to discuss. But as you guys can see, Bitcoin is now at 62, and it's only down 4.5%, so really not affected that much. It's the altcoins that are really getting hit. You know, we have Litecoin down 9.86% at $52, XRP down 13% at 40 cents. Ethereum at 196, down 12%. Everything is practically down double digits. Not much is up. And if it is, it's not by much. But majority of this market is down in double digits, 10, 15, 20%. Absolutely wild. So the one thing that I wanted to compare is this is a cryptocurrency channel, but every so often we do like to look at stocks. You know, they do have some sort of correlation because they are equivalent to money. You know, that it is a money market that we're dealing with. Even though we are decentralized, there is some correlation between the two markets. So it's interesting, and I do want to show you guys this. I'm going to show you guys what this article has to say first. Then we'll look at that other article. So this is on Bloomberg.com. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar. This says what Wall Street is watching as Hurricane Michael nears Florida. So I'm not sure if this has any impact. Whoa, did not mean for this to go on. I apologize. Okay. So I'm not sure the correlation between these two, but obviously, hopefully you guys are aware, near the coast of Florida, Hurricane Michael is a very, very, very prominent thing that is happening right this moment. A lot of people are being affected by this, and I hope they are all doing well. But watching some of those videos, it is a pretty nasty hurricane. Now, when you think about that, you think about the correlation between this massive problem that's happening on the earth, and you'd think the correlation between that and stocks, you'd figure that things that are relevant to hurricanes, so, you know, lumber or, you know, sand, you know, industrial type warehouses and things of that nature that have a stock publicly traded would go up in value. And that's pretty much what happened. And you can see building products, hospitals, yes, insurance, these types of things, energy and utilities, their shares or their stocks would go up in value. So you would see that correlation. But what's interesting too is is the exact opposite happened. So basically, whether or not this directly impacted it, it's just an option that I did want to point out to you guys. The Dow Jones and the S&P 500 were both extremely impacted by yesterday's move, and it's very shocking, and it's weird the correlation between the two, and I'm trying to figure it out. But obviously it says Dow Jones ends off more than 500. 2-day loss tops 1375 points. So it says the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P fell sharply again Thursday as volatility ripped through markets for a second day. The S&P 500 has closed lower for 6 straight days. The Nasdaq declined into correction territory on Thursday, a day after tech-heavy index had its biggest percentage drop since June of 2016, and then stocks in Asia closed sharply lower on Thursday following the sell-off on Wall Street. So it's very interesting to see how all of these are getting affected, and I do want to show you guys the comparison on TradingView between, you know, cryptocurrency and the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you in terms of these two you know, articles and whether or not those correlate. So obviously you guys have seen what happened with Bitcoin. You guys can see the massive retracement, the massive correction, the massive pullback that we've had within Bitcoin, whatever you want to call it. Now look at this. This is the S&P 500. This is the S&P 500, and look what happened at the same exact time as yesterday. So we were all throwing out these accusations that manipulation was the reason for the movement, you know, these big whales, and it's very interesting because we did mention that these big whales could potentially be selling off, and that's why we're seeing Bitcoin drop. But that wouldn't have an effect with the S&P 500, an extremely regulated market that represents a lot of stocks fall. You know, whales would not affect the S&P 500. You know, in reality, that wouldn't happen. So the S&P 500, you know, pretty much tanked fairly quick. You can see the way it was trading prior, and then just the massive candles right there. That is the S&P, and then I want to pull up the Dow Jones for you guys. So this is a Dow Jones Industrial Average. You can see another very, very, very similar thing. It's interesting, though, because I've never done technical analysis on the Dow Jones or the S&P 500, but you can see that we were trading for quite a bit above the high-low MMA for the Dow Jones, and it's what I consider it to be weird that we now pull back down to our high-low MMA. No. It is very interesting to see such a sudden spike instead of a gradual, you know, pullback, you know, something similar to that. This is just a straight downwards movement, and we even fell below the high-low MMA, and there's a good chance we're going to retrace back up to the red band fairly quick. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sort of retracement within the Dow Jones, the S&P 500, and the rest of the market. But to move things on and talk about, you know, Litecoin and everything else, as you guys can see, Litecoin, because I know that's what you guys are interested in, is extremely oversold. You can see right here, we are extremely, extremely oversold, literally trading at only like 23. We need to be above 30 for it to be more into a neutral area, obviously 50 being exactly even. So I am anticipating some sort of retracement back up, a very, very, very sudden spike downwards we've had that's affecting the entire market, not just crypto, and that's kind of what I wanted to get at in today's episode. I do think fairly soon we should see a retracement back up to $55. I don't think we're headed lower than where we are at now. I think $55 is a extreme support like we've talked about within Litecoin for quite some time. So a pullback back up to 55 is almost an, you know, evident to happen. I am extremely, you know, I would say bullish for this time period. You know, for the short term, I am anticipating a movement back up. I think the drop is over. I think that's not going to happen again. And I do think we're going to kind of recover back and kind of move gradually back to $55 for Litecoin. As for Bitcoin, it's just so odd that we're seeing the S&P 500 drop. So, you know, we have not really been doing any technical analysis on the S&P 500 and on the Dow Jones, right? We haven't. We really have not done anything. And I didn't do any technical analysis on those two. But we have been doing Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum. Just going to move the mic a little closer so it sounds a little clearer. And it's interesting because I drew this line in yesterday and it was very obvious and apparent that it was there. I just didn't even, you know, realize it. So we got rid of this. We didn't have this line right here. We only had, you know, these two. And we did see that we were nearing E. But yesterday, I was like, why didn't I trace this? Why didn't I add this line right here? This obvious symmetrical uptrend, this was a more evident line right here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 points of contact kind of sandwiching us in right here. You can see we were actually trading below the high-low MMA. So we had a lot of resistance. Not only these two lines, we also had the downtrend right here, which is extremely bearish. There's a lot of resistance, a lot of things trying to push that market down. A lot of the bears were very strong right here. Three things, 3 lines right here were acting as a resistance. And we had the support, which was currently acting as a resistance at the 65.24 line. So there were 3 areas of resisting pushing this market down. I think it is so weird that we see this pullback that we've traced. It wouldn't have happened here because there's no real lines that we could draw here. It wouldn't have happened there. There's no real lines. It all kind of sandwiched in and kind of compressed right into this little corner here. So we were anticipating, and we have been anticipating, some sort of movement within cryptocurrency at this point right here, whether it was a bullish movement up or a bearish movement down. Is it weird that the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 both fell at the same exact time we've been tracking Bitcoin here? Now, the Dow Jones, I don't really see any sort of, things to trace, really. I'm trying to zoom out and find something. It could have been, considered double top right here. If I drew this line right here for the Dow Jones, if I drew this around there, would that be considered a double top? One there, one there. Yeah, it is possible. There is some sort of ascending triangle that was forming. So I guess there's some sort of lines there. Some sort of ascending movement, very possible, and you can see it broke bearish from that. So I guess there's some sort of correlation between crypto and the Dow Jones and the S&P 500. You can see that ascending triangle I drew. Very weird and odd. That is for sure an ascending triangle. You can see the resistance at the top right there. So there is some sort of correlation between both of them, but could it be following Bitcoin? Could Bitcoin affect the S&P 500, reversed it? Did the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones drop and then crypto dropped, or did Bitcoin and crypto drop and then the S&P 500 dropped? Do you get what I'm saying? Was it reversed? That's a good question. If you guys have any comments to that or statements to that, let me know down below. But just a very interesting market overall, very wild. I don't think, the market was manipulated. Bitcoin solely. I know we were kind of going off that yesterday, that whales could have potentially sunk the market within Bitcoin and crypto, but I don't think that's it. It's too weird and too taboo that Dow Jones would have been affected at the same exact time. So very weird, very odd. Obviously, let me know what you think below. That's pretty much going to sum up the episode for today, guys. We're going to do that raffle probably at the end of this week. I'm going home, so it's going to be a little bit odd for me to make some videos, but I'm going to try. It just might not be the best quality because my equipment's, up here at college. But I'll be home for around 4 days. I'll make some videos on my private channel to let you guys kind of know what I'm doing. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in, I guess, tomorrow's episode. Tomorrow I'll be going home. So it's probably going to be a late episode, or I might not even be able to post one. So I'm just updating you guys in advance. But I'll see you later. Peace.